Welcome back to Bekah's Book Club. We're here today with Joshy.
Hi guys.
You know, me and Joshy had such a busy week. We both took part in a school play where we both had parts and we practiced really hard and it ended up being really awesome.
I played a sheep, although it was kind of weird because I was a sheep with a very long neck.
I was a sheep too, and I was kind of tall compared to you, so it looked pretty funny. But you know what? We both remembered our lines, and it was a great show. People loved it.
Yeah, I'm ready to relax and read a book. That sounds about right.
I agree. Today we are reading a story about a very tall tower. It's called the Tower of Babel.
What?
Let's find out what happens. This story is called A Giant Staircase to Heaven. A giant staircase to heaven. Noah and his family lived in the land, and his children had children, and those children had more children, and then those children had even more. Well, you get the picture. Until there were lots of people on the earth once more. Now, back then, everyone spoke exactly the same language, so you didn't need to learn Swahili or Japanese or anything because you could just say hello to anyone and they knew exactly what you meant. One day, everyone was talking and they came up with an idea. Let's build ourselves a beautiful city to live in. It can be our home and we'll be safe forever and ever. And then they had another idea. And let's build a really tall tower to reach up to heaven. Whoa. Yes, they said. We'll say, look at us up here, and everyone will look at us. And we'll look down on them, and then we'll know we are something. We'll be like God. We'll be famous and safe and happy, and everything will be all right. So they got to work, brick by brick. The tower grew higher and higher until it soared above the city, touching the sky. They built stairs in the tower to climb to the top. It was like a giant staircase to heaven. Look, they cheered, we're the ones. See what we can do with our very own hands. And they were quite pleased with themselves. But God wasn't pleased with them. God could see what they were doing. They were trying to live without him. But God knew that that wouldn't make them happy or safe or anything. If they kept like this, they would only destroy themselves. And God loved them too much to let that happen, so he stopped their plans. Whoa, look at how tall this is. This is a cloud. It's way up there. There's another one. It's so tall. One morning, they went to work as usual, but everything was different. Their words were all new and funny. You see, God had given each person a completely different language. Suddenly, no one understood what anyone else was saying. Someone would say, "How do you do?" And the other person thought they said, "How ugly are you?" It wasn't funny. You could be saying something nice like, "Such a lovely morning," and get a punch in the nose because they thought you said, "Hush up, you're boring." You couldn't even say pardon to check if you've heard right because no one understood that word either. It wasn't easy to work together after all that, as you can only imagine. People were always quarreling and fighting and getting in a dreadful muddle and becoming grumpier and grumpier until at last they were all too cross to keep building and they just had to stop. So here it looks like all of this disaster is happening. They don't understand each other. This guy hit him in the head. He's like, what's going on? After that, people scattered all over the world, which is how we ended up with many different languages to this day. You see, God knew however high they reached, however hard they tried, people could never get back to heaven by themselves. People didn't need a staircase, they needed a rescuer. Because the way back to heaven wasn't a staircase, it was a person. People could never reach up to heaven, so heaven would have to come down to them. And one day, it would. So there it is. They stopped working. The end.
Wow, what a story. So wait, they weren't supposed to build something tall? Like me with my long neck?
No, Joshy, it wasn't that at all. In Genesis 11:4, God told them to spread out. He said, go everywhere over the whole earth and build your homes and communities everywhere. But they didn't spread out. They stayed together and they wanted to build something really tall to make a name for themselves.
Ah, so they didn't do what God told them to do.
Yes, so God decided to give them a little help in obeying him. He gave them different languages so they wouldn't be able to work together.
So it was okay after they spread out? They could build something tall?
As long as you are building what God wants, you are A-okay. It doesn't matter if it's tall or not tall at all. Let's read Deuteronomy 5:3 and read all about what God promises for those who are obedient to him. Deuteronomy 5:33. It says, live the way the Lord your God has commanded you. Then you will live and be successful. You will live a long time in the land that you own. There are so many wonderful things when we obey God, but in the story of the Tower of Babel, they didn't want any of those things. They wanted to have the good things apart from God without obeying him.
Oh dear, that doesn't sound good at all.
The good news is that we can be obedient to God. There's always a blessing in that. We don't have to live like they did in the story.
I drew a picture today about reaching God.
Let's see it.
It's me praying. It's a giant staircase to heaven.
Wow, Joshy, this is so good. This is like the opposite of what we read about in the story. And when we're praying, we really have that. We really have a staircase. That is so cool, Joshy. You did such a good job.
It sure feels good to have a staircase to God.
It sure does. Well, guys, we gotta go. Me and Joshy are going to the mall. We're gonna get a new pair of shoes.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. See you next week. Thanks for tuning in.